Well, I got this email the other day and it totally stopped me in my tracks. I never would buy new clothes, figured I didn't deserve it, and was going to reward myself with new clothes when I lost weight, which never happened. I decided to get rid of anything that didn't fit perfectly and that I didn't love. I bought 3 new shirts to rotate on Sundays. My husband even gave me a compliment, and I've been feeling so great, and it's so freeing to know I love any and all things that are in my wardrobe. Feels so good to not punish myself for not losing weight, but I needed permission to do this, and you gave this to me. Oh, it's just like, oh, it's so good. And so today, I think there's 3 areas that maybe you need permission, maybe you need to stop punishing yourself. So I want to talk about 3 things that I think it is time to get rid of once and for all, and a new spin on sentimental items too. Well, hi, I'm Dawn from The Minimal Mom. I just love seeing your emails and your comments, and I know so often you're thanking me for some of the ideas I've shared, but I am just so grateful for you, and it really feels like a privilege that we can go on this journey together and learn some of this stuff that we've just never been taught. They didn't teach us this in high school, right? Like how to deal with all your junk in your house, right? So that we can just kind of work our way through this together and also share some of these things that really are transformational and ways that we need to let ourselves off the hook and stop beating ourselves up. When Diane and I worked in radio, we had this therapist, this family therapist, who would come on the air with us on Tuesday mornings, and he'd answer parenting and relationship questions. It was so good. But one of the things he always said was, you need to be more gentle on yourself. You need to be gentle with yourself. And I just remember thinking, like, Jim, that sounds kind of corny, right? Like, he would say it all the time. You need to be more gentle on yourself. And I just remember being like, that's corny, right? We're tough, especially if we're women watching this, like, we're tough, we're capable, we're able. But I've been thinking about his words a lot more lately, and like, you know what? We need to be more gentle on ourselves. I also know a lot of us are just, there's loss we're dealing with, there's so much we're dealing with right now, and we need to be gentle on ourselves. And so today, let's talk about how we can be gentle with ourselves in regards to these 3 areas, be kind to ourselves, give ourselves a break, but also get this stuff out of our house that is making us feel junky about ourselves, because none of us need that. None of us need that. So there's 3 areas I want to talk about today that I think we punish ourselves, we beat ourselves up, we hold ourselves captive, I guess, in a way. I don't want to exaggerate, but I really think this is true. One is clothes that we want to fit into again. The second is with hobby stuff, because sometimes we spent a lot of money on it. And the third thing is with sentimental items. So let's start with clothes. So this email from Joanna, it just resonated with me so much, because I totally remember that, thinking that if somehow I kept the clothes that were too small for me, that it was gonna motivate me. And so let's set this record straight once and for all. Keeping clothes that don't fit, it does not motivate us. It does not motivate us. I mean, if it does motivate you, then you've already gotten back down to that size and you're wearing them again. So if you're a person that's motivated by that, great for you, but you're probably already there then, right? So you don't need those clothes anymore to motivate you. For the majority of us, it does not motivate us, but what it does do is cause us to feel junky about ourselves. And again, none of us need that. And so I am so proud of Joanna that she finally said, enough is enough. I'm worth it. So by getting rid of the stuff that does not fit, what we're saying is, I'm worth it. I deserve to have things that fit me. The other thing that keeping those clothes does is it does not put money back in our pocket. We don't get the money back that we spent on them. So we're not in any way financially gaining from it. And sometimes that's the argument, right? I spent money on it. We're not gaining any money back, but what we are doing is cluttering up our closets and our dressers and our bedrooms. And so today I want to encourage you that I know the hope, like I understand the faulty logic behind why we keep this stuff, but today I hope to give you permission, just like Joanna did, to get rid of that stuff. You don't have to fully remove it from your house. If you want to put it in a storage bin, because maybe you are hopeful that once this virus crap lifts, or, you know, some normalcy returns, that you might be able to get back down to a weight, that's totally fine. But do not keep it in your closet. Put it in a bin, put it in storage, and don't look at it every single day. Now, do go ahead and buy 1 or 2 or 3 pieces that fit. I'm not talking a whole wardrobe, because when you buy clothes that fit, what you're not doing is you're not saying, I am committing that this is the size I'm gonna be now for the rest of my life because I bought 2 shirts that size. You're not saying I'm doomed now for the rest of my life to be this size because I bought 2 shirts. That is not what's happening, right? You're just saying, hey, if I do get the opportunity to go out in public, I deserve to feel good about myself. And I want the people I'm with, I want to feel like they're thinking good things about me too. It's not all about clothes, but we know how the clothes make us feel. And so we all deserve to have at least a few things that we feel good in. Now that's talking about stuff when we're going out of the house. I would also encourage you to have stuff to wear around the house that you feel good in as well. This one was probably even the bigger hurdle for me. You know, being a stay-at-home mom, little kids, we all make that excuse. Well, it's just gonna get spit up on anyways, right? But have stuff that you even just feel good in wearing around the house. I think that's equally as important as having nice stuff to wear when we go out. All right, the second thing is hobby stuff, craft supplies, yarn. My mom's into rubber stamping. Here, let me show you one of the cards that she's made. Isn't that pretty? So she's into rubber stamping, and so she makes awesome cards. But even what she's realized lately is that when she just acquired all this inventory around like stamps and stamp sets and papers, and if you're into like scrapbooking, crocheting, sewing, quilting, I mean, you know, right? How you just like, you get more stuff and you follow people on YouTube and Facebook, and then they're always promoting other products that you should buy. And so she had a whole room, like that was her dream, right? To have a whole room where she could set it all up. And then she realized she doesn't like the room and she didn't want to go upstairs to the room, and she enjoyed it more when it was a small, manageable amount. And so now she has significantly simplified all of her craft supplies, and she's making more cards than ever. It's been super fun. And so I know when we spend money on this stuff, we beat ourselves up that I can't get rid of it. Do you know how much money I spent on that? Like, right? This stuff is generally not cheap either, right? Do you know how much money I spent on that? And it often feels that the only way to make it right is to use the stuff. But unfortunately, many of us, when we bought the stuff, we couldn't see into the future that we were gonna have energy limitations, that we were gonna have physical stuff come up that doesn't allow us to have so much time to spend on it, or we were gonna end up being a caregiver, or other things that have taken large chunks of our time, or that our tastes would change, that maybe we wouldn't even be into it so much anymore. We didn't know the future, right? And so by keeping this stuff, it doesn't put the money back in our account. It doesn't magically free up time in our schedule to be able to do it, or to give us more energy to be able to do it. And so I really want to encourage you. My mom, she found a lot of places to donate her stuff to, different retirement centers or other places, you know, where adults can go to spend time and just hang out. So she donated a lot of stuff to places like that, or you can go on Marketplace and sell it. But I just want to encourage you that keeping it doesn't make it right. I mean, you know this now, because how long has that stuff been sitting there? No one's using it or appreciating it. We might as well at least pass it on to someone that's gonna make use of it and enjoy it. Even like grandkids, kids, even, you know, my mom's given tons of paper to the girls, which they love, and especially when she sends it in little bits, you know, not like, don't like unload boxes on your grandchildren, but when you send little bits with at a time, or make up little bags of stuff to send, that's super fun. And Christmas is coming up, maybe you can make some craft kits. So you've heard me say this like term before, but it's like, use it or lose it. Like if you don't have a plan to use it in the next few months, let's lose it and not have to keep maintaining it and storing it and being reminded of the money that we spent on it. And then the last thing I think you need to be a little easier on yourself with is sentimental items. This is a tough one because it's so complex, because we all have different relationships with the people that left the stuff. I know there are many of you that have stuff from your parents, children, other loved ones that you were very close with, and you know logically, right? You know that the stuff isn't the person, right? That by keeping the stuff, you can't bring the person back, that the memories aren't physically tied to the stuff, but yet it is still very difficult to part with. And so what I want to encourage you is that, unfortunately, we often think that if we keep the stuff, then at least we don't have to deal with the guilt of getting rid of it, or thinking that they wanted us to keep it and we don't. But unfortunately, a lot of times we're just exchanging one kind of guilt for another. Like when you find out it's in storage, but something happened to it, it's decayed or gotten damaged, or rodents or bugs or water have gotten into it. Or you're already thinking ahead to your own estate plans and knowing that your adult kids don't want it, and so now it's gonna be a burden to them. And so what I wanna encourage you with is that I know as a millennial, and I still don't like that term. I still don't like to call myself that, but we're often accused of not being sentimental or not caring about things for the past. But what I want to encourage you is that the reason we don't is often because we don't know why we're supposed to care about it. We don't actually know why those things were special. And so even right now, our own parents are going through their estate planning, which has just caused us now to have some of these conversations about their stuff and who gets what, you know, all those fun conversations, right? But Diana and I were talking about it because we're like, okay, our parents and our grandparents have an incredible legacy that they have left us of hard work and, oh my goodness. So I was talking with my mom and she was like, we should call it by the grace of God and hard work. And so I was talking with Diana, I was like, how do we memorialize this? Because there's not a single thing in their house that would necessarily represent that. I mean, their farm, of course, is a huge legacy, but there's not any like particular thing that we would pass on to the grandkids, or even for her and I, that we would have in our home that would commemorate that, right? And so we're like, oh my goodness, we should make a video about it. Like, we should sit my parents down and talk with them about it. Like, and to also to hear the stories of our grandparents. Like, Diana and I were very fortunate that on my dad's side, we got to know those grandparents and we loved them. But even to hear some of, now it's been 15 years since they've been gone. So even to hear some of those stories again from my dad's perspective, we never got to know my mom's parents. So to have her sit down and to record stories about them and to tell us about them, to talk about when my dad bought his farm and how they had nothing and how far they've come with that, that would mean so much to us. And so is there a way that you could take this stuff that you've acquired and that you could make it meaningful to your kids, not by keeping the physical item, but by attaching the stories to it? We love the stories. Millennials, they love the stories. We want to hear the story behind it. We might not want the physical item, but we want to hear about where it came from and who was tied to it. And so are there physical things that you've been keeping that you could turn into a story? Could you take pictures of it and then upload them to Shutterfly and make a book, like write out, you know, why it was significant? Could you even just take your smartphone and start recording some videos about it while you're holding up the stuff? And then would it maybe feel okay to part with that stuff? Because you've told the story, you're archiving it in a way that your kids and your grandkids can really care about it. And again, I want to be careful with this one because it might not be possible to do that for every single item that was passed on. Could you really just pick the most important pieces or the most special pieces or the ones that have the best stories that go with it, and that we wouldn't try to like overwhelm ourselves with telling the story of every single item, but knowing that a few special stories would be so cool, and that truly would be something that your kids and your grandchildren would cherish for a very long time, and that could just be passed on and passed on. And so that would be my encouragement around that I know the intention behind keeping the physical stuff to honor these people that were so important to us, but I just think it doesn't always accomplish the goal that we're hoping to with it. And sometimes those physical items become a burden, and that is not the intention, right? Like, that is just not the goal. So how can we take it and turn it into something that truly is a treasure and an asset and something that we can pass on? And so I'd love to know if you have any ideas around this, or if you've done anything like this, would you share that down below? Because I know that would be helpful to others as well, or any if there's any resources that would make this easier or anything like that, will you please share that down below, because that would be super helpful. And so in the words of our friend Jim, you need to be gentle on yourself. You deserve that, and we would all want that for you, to not beat ourselves up that we're not the size we want to be, that we've spent money on stuff, that we've hoarded things from a loved one that's passed on because we just couldn't bear it to part with it. It's okay. It's like I think all of us can relate to at least one of these categories. It's okay, but you do deserve to be free from that guilt and that shame and any of those other yucky feelings you've been feeling around it. So I know you can do this. It's not easy. Take it step by step, but I think there could be some really good stories that come out of this as well. And so I hope this helps. I love you. Any ideas that you have, we are all ears. So please share that down below. I hope you subscribe if you haven't done so already, but we'll definitely look forward to visiting with you again soon.